Hello and welcome to Pain in the Arts, the arts and creative podcast in Wales, where we talk about the good, the bad, and the why did I choose this career moments. I am broadcaster and event host Chris J. Birch, and
I am Jack Birch, artist, writer and editor for the Edit Wales. Each week we'll be breaking down the art, music and creative things going on in Wales right here at this podcast.
So if you work in the arts, if you want to work in the arts, or if you just love it from afar, welcome. You are in good company here, and we have had such a busy week in the arts this week.
I'm just looking at the list now.
But before we get on to that, Jack would not let me turn up here on this podcast, refused to walk into the room if I was wearing what I was planning on wearing this week. And that is because we're going to see the iconic Tina, the Tina Turner musical, and just not let me turn up. Why not?
Because it's a fur coat.
It's not a real
fur coat. No, it's not. But it's still.
No, I love it. I wanted to wear it. I thought it would be a great thing to put in here for this podcast, but sadly not. No, I'm not allowed. But I did get my photo taken in it this week.
You did. I am one for like out there dressing and, you know, being centre of attention and all that. However, it's giving more Sasquatch.
It is not.
It is a little bit.
You wait until you see the photos. They are absolutely phenomenal. It is going to be fantastic. You're going to love it.
Maybe save it if you go skiing this year.
No, I'm going to save it for Tina Turner. We're going to go see Tina Turner, the musical, in the Wales Millennium Centre. Yes, that is happening.
And that's got a particularly long run this time, hasn't it? Like this production.
I think it's running for the full month, isn't it? It's running right up till the end of the month.
The 10th to the 28th.
Seems about right to me. Yes, yeah, it's a long run, but still shows that theatre is definitely in demand at the moment, especially with iconic IP. I know we covered that a little bit last week, but yes, it is definitely something that everybody wants to go and see, and I am one of those. Do you know, I went to go and see Tina Turner once.
Yeah.
I did indeed.
Well, I think you're saying about like IP and things like that, but I think biopics about famous people are sort of creeping up and up and up in popularity now. Like you can see it now where it's sort of, we're getting into like award seasons for movies and things like that, and on the run up to it we've seen so many films that are coming out that are about different actors and musicians. Like the Michael Jackson one is coming out.
Do you want to go and see it? I think I do.
Don't know. I'm not a fan of those styles of movies. If I can Google all the information, I don't really want to watch a dramatized version of it, because you usually find out afterwards that about a third of the things in there are made up and not true. They're just put in there to make for a good film.
I guess that makes sense. I mean, I really enjoyed Bohemian Rhapsody. I thought that was fantastic. Have you seen that yet?
No, again, because it's just not my style of film. I would rather watch a documentary on that person than a dramatized film on their life for that reason, I think. But,
yeah, I see the logic.
But I think that's probably why Tina Turner is going to prove to be quite popular, I think.
See, I think for me, it's a lot of people love behind the scenes, and I think a dramatized version of behind the scenes sometimes is okay. They take a little bit of, license in what they're doing, but I think for the most part, people want to find out more about what went on in that person's life than really what is true. I mean, they don't want to see them like nipping to the toilet, or anything like that, or having a lovely boring meal or something. They want to see the actual fun that's gone on behind the scenes, or the highlights. So some of that is dramatic license, unfortunately.
Yeah, true. Talking
of dramatic license, though, we had a dramatics on Friday evening, didn't we? We went to go see Full House.
Oh, we did. I walked into it and I instantly saw that the seating was cabaret style.
Which you don't like.
Well, no, it's not the cabaret style seat. I actually quite like cabaret style seating in the sense where you're not sat in rows facing a stage, where it's kind of like maybe in the round, and you're all at little tables and chairs and things like that. That I like. What I don't like is when it clearly shows that the actors on stage are going to be walking in amongst me and potentially trying to involve me in that production. I hate immersive theatre, like where they bring the audiences in on it. I hate it.
Now, by comparison, I absolutely adore immersive theatre. If you've got an immersive production, bring me aboard. I would love to sit in on that. No. And do you know what? Sometimes it's nice just watching other people cringe at it for a moment and just sort of squirm down in their seats. Do you remember when we went to see Ernest?
Yes, and things like that. As much as I am there to do a job when I get invited to those things, part of me thinks to myself, I could have potentially been like, I paid for a ticket to come to this. No, I do not want to be your William Shakespeare.
Oh, I
And it's
loved
very,
it.
do you know what I mean? I'm not, but you did a drama degree, so you're all about being on stage.
Yeah, I know, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you want to be involved in someone's production. But for me, I just think, no, you've just got to run with it. You've got to get involved. But I mean, to be fair to Full House, I mean, it's coming to Parkendale. We saw it at the Sherman Theatre.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic production. Keeping for me, a one person show, a one woman show, one man show, whatever it may be, a one show is so difficult to do. And it was one scene the entire way through, start to finish. So you are keeping the audience involved, engaged, immersed throughout. You're moving throughout the production. There were elements for me of, obviously it was a scripted piece, but there were elements of improv that were absolutely necessary as you're going through the performance and you're interacting with the audience to a certain extent. It was absolutely phenomenal in terms of
I
acting
will say,
performance.
although I don't like that sort of theatre where I'm going to be interacted with by the actors, that, for me, I did get picked on.
Of course you did.
Straight off the bat.
It's because you didn't want to be picked on.
I know, I think I showed the face that I don't want to and they make a beeline for me. However, Hannah Ladd, who was the one woman in the show, did a really good job at, the whole thing is set in a bingo hall. And as soon as we sort of got into it, I did feel relaxed.
Yes.
Like they did have quite a good talent, I suppose, of making me feel like I was in a bingo hall with a load of friends.
And you had the dabber.
Yeah, and it was the bingo caller, Hannah's character, was someone that I felt like I knew. I'd go here every week and watch them play bingo, so I did feel a little bit at ease. So when the mic was shoved in my face, and I had to reveal that I have 6 dogs for a room full of strangers, it was like, yeah, I do.
Jack has a problem.
Yeah, I do. They're like Pokemon. I got to catch them all.
I want to get rid of them all.
But no, I did enjoy it. I thought it was a really good production because it heavily lent on comedy in order to get a serious message about like grieving and loss and connection through human emotions across.
Yeah.
And honestly, I am a big fan of comedy in general, but I think it's something that is probably one of the hardest areas of theatre to get right. Horror you can get right because you can rely on jump scares and suspensefully building music and turning the lights off. Things like that can make people feel at ease really easily. But comedy is one of those things that if you crack a joke and the audience don't laugh, especially when it's in such a small intimate setting as that was, it can really throw you off as an actor.
Yeah.
And honestly, she was able to make me laugh with just a facial expression.
Yes.
Like there's one thing she does, and we won't spoil it for people who are going to go and see it, but there's one thing that she does where she comes out in an outfit and sits on the chair on the stage.
Yes.
And she says nothing. She's just sat there. And I was weak.
Yes. The face says it all sometimes, doesn't it?
And there was one
Absolutely.
woman in the audience, I don't know if you remember, who just kept cackling and laughing. You just heard her all the way
She
through
was
it.
right behind me the entire time.
Yeah.
Absolutely
But there can't
howling.
be anything more rewarding for an actor in a comedy to hear that type of uncontrollable outburst from the audience. So
Yeah.
it was really, really good, to be honest. However, by the end of it, so many of us were crying.
Yeah, I know. And do you know what? I am not an emotional person, as you know.
No, me neither, to be honest.
No, I know.
No.
And still, there was a moment at the end where, there's a bit of a, you choking back a little
Yeah.
bit, and it was quite surprising. Even though, I mean, the people we were sat at the table with were partly funding. They were representing the funders for the project.
Yeah, we were sat with the guys from RCT Council.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they part funded the project, and even they, who were quite clearly must have been heavily involved in the project, were a little bit choked up by it at the same time, which is brilliant to see, because it shows that you can read something and get a completely different meaning from what you're reading to what you're actually seeing, and that's the power of performance.
But it was really good, though. It's not that often you can walk into a theatre and actually play a game of bingo.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I've got a confession for you.
Oh,
I
go on.
think.
What?
So we had to do a full line.
Yes.
That was the first one, yeah?
Go on.
I think I would have been the person to have shouted house, but I purposefully didn't dab 2 of my numbers because I didn't want to get up.
Why?
because they didn't want to have. I knew I was looking
Something.
I was looking at that table of prizes, and I thought they are not prizes that I can actually win. There's going to be something there where I'm like, no, you can't pick that, you can't pick that, you can't pick that. And I could see that my numbers were coming up, and I just purposely avoided it because I know.
Wow.
I know.
Honestly, we could have walked home with a Cilla Black CD.
No, we couldn't have, because you couldn't actually win it.
Don't say anything just in
won
case.
a Murray Mint. I don't even like Murray Mints.
Oh, I love a Murray
No.
Mint. Going to the theatre for... Can we just talk about going to the theatre with sweets in mind? I know I touched on it last week. I'm not allowed to take popcorn to a show.
I feel like I write at least once a year an article on theatre etiquette in the hopes that the entirety of the country will read it. They're never going to, so they will read it and realise that they're all annoying.
Yes, I know. I think I did a TikTok on it or something like that last year, and that did really well because I think it just hit a lot of nerves for people.
Yeah.
Because do you remember when we were seeing Hamilton? We watched Hamilton. If you were sat next to me, by the way, I'm about to berate you, right? But the guy was sat next to me who, for one thing, got the wrong year that he was supposed to see the performance. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And sang the entire way through it, and then came up to me at some point, like he must have been during the interval, and came up to me and he said, "I'm sorry if I'm singing a lot." I'm like, well, don't.
Yeah.
Have self-control. What's wrong with you?
We had that when we went to go see Six as well, didn't we? Like the woman next to me was
wow.
dancing and singing to every single song, and she knew every word that each song had. She knew all the lyrics. She knew all the dance moves, and she nearly punched me in the face about 3 times when she'd swing her arms out. And I thought, do you know what? I really want to get up and say something to you, but at the same time, you're living your best life.
Well, I don't. For me, I wouldn't have cared. She was living her best life. For me, I would have punched her in the face.
Well, like she nearly did to
Possibly
me.
not.
You know?
Yes, yeah.
But no, there are, like, people can be quite annoying in theatres, and they don't quite realise that them opening every individually wrapped boiled sweet that they've got in a bag, in a wrestling bag, is annoying for the people all around them. Them thinking they're being coy and going like this to check their notification on their smartwatch
When it's the
it lights
brightest
the whole thing up. And
thank you.
even to the point like that, I put this in every article, but I will say it here as a public service announcement. Your smartwatch has a theatre mode. If you swipe down, you'll see the 2 theatre-style mask icons. Tap it. That means when you bring your watch up, it won't light up until you go back into the setting and turn it off again. Yeah, and it's a theatre cinema mode for the watch, so it doesn't annoy the people around you. When they would, when Android and Apple were designing these watches, they knew that light would be annoying in a theatre and in a cinema.
Look at this. This is like public service information here.
Please
I love
use
it.
the theatre mode when you go to the theatre, because it is as annoying as just bringing your phone out. You may as well bring your iPad out and start watching like The Traitors.
I will say there's going to be somebody, and it would be somebody like me who is watching this right now, who is going to see you at a theatre, know that they're sat somewhere near you, and deliberately leave their watch on, and they're just going to be like this every now and again. I would do it.
No doubt.
Don't do it though, because I'm usually sat next to him and I can't be dealing with the earache. Anyway, something far more sedate than theatre at the moment. We went to go to Janet Chaplin's
her new exhibition. Yeah.
Exhibition. God, I'm just not well versed today.
Well, we love Janet Chaplin. We followed her work. Both of us have for quite a while now, haven't we?
Followed her work, not followed her. I mean, that would be creepy. Yes, we have. We followed her work quite extensively. I forget where we first met her. I know we saw her in Abergavenny one day, but I forget where.
Yeah, she's regularly in Abergavenny Market with a stand there, with her own shop front there. But no, I can't remember actually where we first came across her work and met her, but she's got one of those styles that is really colourful and expressive, and each piece just feels really exciting to look at, and it does sort of bring some sort of an emotion out on you, I think, when you see them, and you can feel what she was feeling. And the thing that I love about her work, which other artists that we've seen have done as well, is her sketchbooks are usually available somewhere, either on her stall in Abergavenny or on a table at the exhibition. You can see her sketchbooks, and you'll see I did a reel on our socials for it. where I show off her sketchbooks, and they range from this size, tiny little sketchbooks, to just quite big A4 size ones.
I didn't see them.
Yeah, and she said it's so she can have a sketchbook everywhere with her, where she goes. So if she feels inspiration for a potential painting, she can just quickly sketch what it is she can see.
Yeah.
And then that ends up being translated into a bigger piece then. But yeah.
I mean, for me, I look at her work, and she's down in Penarth Pier Pavilion at the moment, all the 3 Ps. She's down there. You try saying that 10 times fast. She is down there, and what I like is her work. It is all reminiscent, or a lot of them are reminiscent of each other, and therefore you can buy more than one piece and align it quite nicely on your wall, or in your home, whatever you want to do, and it all fits. It's a cohesive set of items that at the end of the day, when they're all put together, they look fantastic individually, or they look fantastic put together. And I think for me, that's what I quite like. And it doesn't matter if you pick a piece from that collection or a piece from that collection, it's all going to sit on the wall and look cohesive in some way, because she's a fantastic artist, and she's clearly got a brilliant style.
Her pieces are so colourful. She uses so much colour in her work. It will pretty much go with any decor of any house and sort of bring a room to life, really. But she was saying one of her best-selling pieces are the framed prints that she does in the long frames. And they can either be hung in, and she said they'll fit a small space that you've got available, sort of next to a door or something like that, or above a door, like those sort of weird spaces that you might not be able to put a picture, but you might think it looks a bit big. They sell really well for that. What
we'll have to do here is talk one day about the product pyramid.
Yes.
We'll have to have a conversation on that. We will do that in the next couple of weeks. If
you're
an
we'll
artist.
put something out on socials for it, but it's a great way to sell products and make sure you've got a full comprehensive range of products. And it's something that Janet Chaplin does really, really well.
Yeah. Fantastic. While we're on the note of things that are very creative, not that we're not on this podcast, but things that you can get your hands into, like painting. Amy at The Edit has done an article, which I'm just going to touch on if you don't mind.
Yes, please do.
She has, because it's half term coming up, not that impacts us in any way, it's just we just don't go to the places that Amy is recommending for that week. No, I'm joking, obviously. She has recommended that her top 10 places to take your kids to feel creatively fulfilled over half term. And some of those, I'm just going to briefly run through them because you can take a look at it on The Edit. It's fantastic. It is Horrible Histories that's happening in the Wales Millennium Centre. Tidy at the Sherman in Cardiff. There's the Bug Hotel workshop that is going on in the riverfront. I know.
That sounds fun.
Do you want me to tell you a bit more about that one? It's an outdoor craft session combining creativity with conservation, allowing children to design and build while learning about the habits, materials, and animals in the natural world.
Ooh, that sounds like something I would have liked as a kid. I used to love collecting little bug hotels.
Really?
Yeah, I'd go to the local pet shop and buy the really small acrylic fish tanks that you used to be able to buy. You should not be keeping goldfish in them, but I'd fill it with all sort of like debris and leaf litter from the garden and sticks, and then I'd collect the ants, and I'd put ants in there, or snails, or caterpillars.
You would do that?
Yeah. And then I'd line them all.
You don't seem like the type.
Yeah.
17 years and I still find out something new. There's also a painting party. Janet Chaplin will be at that one. It's at the National Museum in Cardiff. Well, she might be. You never know. There's that there. And also nature crafting that's happening at the RSPB Wetlands in Newport.
I love a bit of combination of nature and art.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I'll take you down to the wetlands in Newport over half term, shall I?
I do like the wetlands.
Anyway, that is Amy's. It's all available over at The Edit, www.theeditwales.com, where you can also submit questions for this podcast, and we will have your first set of questions straight after this. Okay, Jack, it is time for our Pain in the Arts segment. Do you have a question for us this week?
I do. This week's question comes from Stephen, who has asked, how do I stop my family and friends assuming my creative work isn't a real job and is just a fun hobby?
Oh, okay. Stephen, now, I mean, you are not alone there. You are absolutely not alone.
I think a lot of people assume the arts isn't a serious... I certainly know when I went into the arts in further education, like degree and things like that, a lot of people did sort of huff at me as if to be like, what, you're not doing something like law or English or... And those sorts of...
How dare you do something that's creative?
And I think a lot of people do assume that those sort of degrees are dead-end degrees. They don't lead to any jobs, and wrongly so, to be honest. So ultimately, if you then go into a job that does that, it's a hard industry to break into.
It
Most
is.
creative industries are hard to break into because, unfortunately, a lot of the industries, they can be quite cliquey.
Yeah.
So you've kind of got to push yourself into the center of that clique, if you will, and then the work starts coming from that. But obviously, there's other ways that you can do it, and then there's other ways you can break in, whether or not, you start your own theatre company or you start your own gallery or whatever in that sort of sector. But I think when you're first starting out, you're not going to make much money. You're going to be making a lot of stuff that ends up in the bin, and people are going to see that as a waste of time. People who are so built into the corporate way of working, like you did it, you were corporate for such a long time and in those sectors for such a long time. You struggled moving into the arts, and
yes,
I
absolutely.
would sort of say to you, that is what it's like. Sometimes it's slow paced. Sometimes you feel like you're not getting a lot of work and productivity done, and then all of a sudden it just hits and you've got to work 100 miles an hour and get things done. I know definitely when I worked in design, it was very much like that. There'd be a lot of waiting and sitting around, and I'd sort of be tapping my foot waiting for things to go.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden a job would hit and you had to have everything done yesterday.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're working. But those are the times then, well, when your family are kind of turning a bit of a blind eye to you.
I mean, for me, what I would say to that is, when you're young, when you've got a child or something like that, not that I do, when you've got a child and when you're young, the focus is to give you as a child as many creative outlets and activities as possible. And whether that's in school learning to play the violin, whether that's when they're very young, learning to paint with poster paints and using Play-Doh and using your imagination to build something with Lego. If you're going to fuel a child as a creative in youth, that's going to impact on them later on in life. So you reap what you sow there.
Yeah.
So in that sense, if you're going to provide your child with as many creative outlets as possible, don't hamper them as an adult for being a creative person. You should let them be the art or the creative person that they truly are, and that you've helped them become through the actions that you did when they were a younger person.
I think
Absolutely.
we're seeing more and more now, definitely, that the arts and the creative sectors have such an effect on people's well-being and mental health and things like that, that it should be looked upon as a serious career choice now.
Absolutely.
And you see a lot of sort of sciences now taking on little bits of the art and creative sector, like therapy and things like that.
Yeah.
So I do think that it maybe is a generational thing with your friends and family, or I'm not quite sure how old Stephen is, but it could be a generational thing, especially with some of the older family members. It probably comes from a place of concern and worry that they're like, oh, is he making enough money to buy a house? Or will he be able to keep himself alive?
I mean, there is that. I mean, what I would say is, yes, it's probably a generational thing. I mean, you've got grandparents and parents, some older parents, who will have left school, gone into a corporate job, got their pension, worked their way up, that kind of thing. And now they're utilising that pension, and they don't see the traditional road that has been paved out for you actually come into fruition. And that can be a little bit, it can be a little bit jarring for parents and grandparents. And I can completely empathise and understand that. But what I would say is that road that was available for the parents and the grandparents, where you did leave school, you got one job, you worked your way through, worked your way up, and then worked your way to retirement, that isn't available for people who are in the corporate sector anymore. No. That is gone. So if you're gonna have a conversation with your parents, your family, your friends, wherever it may be, and the conversation is centered around, look, please be supportive of my creative endeavor, remind them that yes, they were the ones who brought you into the creative sphere when you were a child, and that the corporate sector has just as much ups and downs and uncertainties as the creative sector, but you forging your own way at least gives you a bit of control over it at the same time. So that would be my thoughts on that.
I think as well, like we've always, if you look at it through history, artists and creatives and writers and things like that, they've always been on the fringe of the working world because they do have to approach things in a different way that is not conformative to a lot of other like corporate work settings. Maybe lean into it a little bit. It's where the trope of a tortured artist came from. Do you know what I mean? That they're struggling and they're living on ends meet in order to fulfill their life with their art and things like that.
Yeah.
Lead into it a little bit. You could also put together a little presentation, maybe do a weekly presentation to show them what work you've been doing and what you've been up to.
How would that work?
I don't know. Well, let's say, for example, he hasn't said what his work is here, but say he's a painter. He could do a series, say he's got a series of paintings that is like, this week on This Is Not a Pigeon. And it could be a chicken and show them what you're making, involve them in it, make it fun. I don't know.
I had some sort of idea of you showing someone an interpretive dance or something. Or while I've been doing this, I don't know, I'm not even going to try and dance there. This is what I've been doing this week.
You could do that as well. Involve them. You could involve them, invite them along. If you're a theatre writer or a performer of some sort, invite them along to the things you're going to. Most theatres will let you put a couple of seats aside for friends and family. Bring them along, involve them in it. Thank them at the end of it.
And Francine, come down to the stage and dance with me.
But you could thank them for it, for providing the inspiration.
Yes.
And maybe if they see how you've gotten where you are through your career through them and the inspiration you've gotten from them and the upbringing that you've had, it'll maybe bring them into your world. It is a hard world to get other people to understand who aren't in it.
Yes,
I do think that.
Yeah. But it's a very viable career, and 99.9% of the people that your parents and your grandparents are watching on TV, going to the theatre to see, they're all creative people working in the creative industries, and there is a viable career in it, and it's just about articulating that correctly. So I hope that helps, Stephen. I hope we've helped answer that question there. We will have another one coming up very shortly. Okay, do you have another question for us, Jack?
I do, and this next question comes from the traitor himself, Andrew Jenkins, who sent us in a video.
So, I'm opening my own wellness centre, and it's going to be a total body experience, mind, body and spirit, mindfulness being a huge part of that. What are some of the creative outputs I could have in my wellness centre to help with mindfulness?
Oh, that's exciting.
Go on, you start.
There are so many avenues that Andrew could go down here, and it's a really exciting venture, I think, and it's nice to see that he is breathing some new life into that building. It's such a lovely building, it's such a lovely part of the country.
Really accessible as well.
Yeah, and I think, we were saying earlier that people are starting to realise more and more that the effects that the arts have on mental well-being and just general overall health, really.
Yeah.
There is so much that you can do. One of the things that I've noticed through my practice as a ceramicist is that when people's hands are busy, they talk.
Yes.
So if you've got one of those sort of men who can't talk about their feelings and their emotions and things like that, it's something that I know a lot of people struggle with. And we actually, when we met up with Andrew to tour this building before he renovated it, he did say that he did a walk for a charity where the guy he was with ended up just talking so much to him and said, wow, I haven't even said a lot of this to my family. It's crazy that I've just met you and I'm telling you this. But we were both, us and Andrew were saying that it's because he was busy doing something else. He was doing this walk, he was focusing on what it was that he was doing, and your mind just sort of loosens up and you loosen up in general. So pottery is one of those things that does that. And in true Blue Peter fashion, here's one I made earlier.
I wondered what this was for.
Here's a little pinch pot, but that's what the technique is called for this, that we made with my sister a few weeks ago, didn't we? And you just sort of roll coils of clay and you just sort of build them up and up and up like that, and then where the name pinch pot comes from, you pinch it all the way around. Then you can get any shape really, but you can smooth it out, you can keep it quite textured, and we sort of kept it quite textured looking. This hasn't been fired yet, this is just dry and ready to go into the kiln, so it is quite delicate, but you keep all these layers here and you can see the conversation that comes from it, and I think it's quite nice. It is almost like this one we've left very organic. We weren't trying to get any specific shape, we were just sort of experimenting to see what came out of it, and I quite like it. I think it'll make quite a nice vessel, as us ceramicists call them. But I think it shows the conversation that you've had, it shows the time you've put into it, the people you were with, and each one will come out unique. You don't need a specific skill or talent in order to make things like that, especially when you're going for an organic, unique shape. And you don't need a lot of equipment and material to do it. You need a bag of clay, a couple of boards of MDF, and a table to work at, and just a group of people to to get together and make one.
I mean, yeah, I completely agree. I was talking to Carol Kibble, who we know really well, who's an artist, and she does a lot of arts classes. And we've talked to Beth Giles, who's got an art gallery in Pontyclun, and they run classes that, and what the outcome of that is okay, they create a great piece and they learn something new, but at the same time as learning something new, all these people are connecting with each other, having a conversation with each other, and that is just opening your mind, because, like you said, is when you're using your hands, your brain is doing something completely different. And it's that disconnect that helps you unwind. I mean, I've been itching for ages to get back to yoga. So my yoga teacher went to Greece. How selfish. But now she's back. And so we're starting yoga again. And I love the fact, and weirdly, your sister came with me to that. And it's great to have an outlet where you are just so focused on something else that your phone is switched off in the corner somewhere, and you just have the opportunity to sit for an hour and just listen to a single voice tell you what to do, which, I mean, it's actually quite fulfilling at the same time. Okay, it's a strengthening exercise for me as well, because I'm a certain age now. But at the same time, it's really, really relaxing for your mind. And yes, it gets you talking, because if you're going to make an idiot of yourself in doing things like that, which I regularly do in yoga, if you're going to make an idiot of yourself, then at least you're in good company at the same time, because other people are doing it. And there's nothing like fun to bring solidarity together, or, the same emotion being shared. And I love that.
I think the best thing with art is that there is, in those sort of settings, there is no right or wrong way to do things. There's no expected outcome at the end. Even if you were to bring in an artist that did a still life, and you have all the easels set up in a room somewhere, no one is expecting it to look like the thing you're actually drawing. It's just a bit of fun.
Yeah.
I remember years ago back in uni doing still life sessions, and I dreaded them. I honestly dreaded them. A, because there was going to be a naked person in the room.
And that was me. No, it wasn't.
And B, I'm not your stereotypical illustrator. My work is, whenever I draw, it is very rough. But that's the sort of style that I like. It's a very, you know how Quentin Blake, the illustrator for the Roald Dahl books, how he's very expressive in his drawings and things like that. I'm like a less refined version of that. Because I'm not an illustrator.
That.
So but I used to look at other people who could look at that person doing that pose and draw it perfectly. And I hated it. I hated that I couldn't do that I couldn't replicate that. My sister, I feel like this is becoming a podcast about my sister.
If you're listening.
But she is an incredible artist. She can draw by looking at anything and get it proportionally correct every time. That pictures or the illustrations she does of animals, where she can get the fur and the feathers and the scales down to perfect scale every single time, is amazing. And it took me a long time to realize that that's not my style. I can't do that. So I just leaned into my own style, and I went into that life drawing session with this sort of, I'm just going to have fun, and however it comes out, it comes out. And to be honest with you, one of the proudest ones that I did was the tutor in the room at the time said, we're going to mix it up a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to just do a pose, and we're going to change the pose every 15 seconds for about a minute. And that's what the model did. They changed pose everything. And you had to just be quick. And everyone around me was panicking because they didn't have the time to do the detail and the scale and the proportion that they're good at. Me, who is more expressive, I was able to get that in really, really quickly. And it just made me not think about it. It made it really, really fun. And I loved everything that would come out of that. I really did. Wonderful. So things like that you could do. You could do life drawing sessions where you have to be quick. Don't focus on the correct way of doing things. And I think it'll just loosen people up, and it'll get people involved and excited. And so, drawing, you could do life drawing, you could do pottery, painting. There's so many different things that you can do. And I think this is definitely something that, from my point of view, definitely, I would like to be more involved with Andrew when it comes to opening up that centre.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we are back and forth there on a regular basis, so we will keep you abreast of that situation. I think
excited
that would be
to
fun.
See how that develops.
Yes, definitely. Well, we hope we helped there, Andrew, and if not, you can just give us a WhatsApp, I'm sure. Anyway, if you've got a question for us, you can send us a message over at the Edit socials, which are on Instagram And also, if you want to post anonymously, you can do that through www.theeditwales.com. But let's look at the week ahead, because apart from Tina Turner, the musical, where I'm going to wear my fake fur coat.
Well, we do have quite a lot, actually. So we're Monday.
There wasn't a no.
Monday, we'll see. Monday, we'll be heading to the new theatre to watch 222, A Ghost Story.
What now? Tell me about this, because I haven't seen. I saw the invite and I've seen nothing else.
I'm not going to tell you anything about it. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. If you want to know about it, head on over to the new theatre's website and find out. I will say that it is one of those productions that everyone who writes for us, who goes to see shows and concerts and things like that for us for the edit, and friends and family around us have all got in contact and said, if you can't make it to 222 when you get your press tickets to that, please can we go?
Have they really?
Everyone. Even my sister, again, she's getting a shout out here. You'd think she was the sponsor of this episode.
Yes.
Even she said to me last night when you were leaving to go to yoga, she said, oh, if Chris is ill when you go to and see 222, I'll go with him.
What?
I'll go with you. So it's so many people are excited about it, and it is, I love scary theatre. I love being live in the room when something like that happens and you're scared. I love it. So I'm really excited for it personally, and it's got a great cast. It's got one of the actors from 2 Pints of Lager in it, which I grew up watching. But it's got a great cast. The last time it toured, it had great reviews. It's spooky, it's scary, it's about a haunted apartment. Something scary happens at 222 every night.
Okay.
So, and we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
So,
Righto. Okay,
so
that
we've
makes
got
sense.
that. We've got Cabaret Bingo at the Cabaret.
Oh, when are we going there? Next week?
That is the end of next week, yeah.
Wow.
We're at that. We're at 2 things next week, I think, in the Cabaret. So we got the Cabaret Bingo there. And we've also got Lucy Pearman.
Yeah. Now I'm looking forward to it. Now I think comedy for me this year, I wanted to go see more indie grassroots music, and I wanted to see more comedy nights, as in stand-up comedy nights, because I think we really need to push and endorse and help promote the stand-up comedy arena, because it is flourishing in certain ways, but at the same time there's a culture that wants to cancel certain people for saying certain things, and
whether comedy becomes more difficult when you
you
have to. It must be such a difficult industry, because you have to consider, if you're not a big comedian with a big name, someone like Alan Carr or the late Joan Rivers, although Joan Rivers never really cared because she'd cancel herself anyway. But if you weren't someone, if you're not someone big like that, who has agents and writers to help you just double check all of your work and make sure that it's not going to offend somebody, as an indie comic, it must be quite a difficult industry to be in at the moment. So I think it is an industry that is definitely a creative sector that is 100% worth supporting if you can. And we're lucky here because we have the Glee Club in Cardiff.
Would you? Yes. Which I am really massively looking forward to going back to on a very regular basis. And in order to keep them sustained at the moment, they're putting things on like live podcast hosting and that sort of thing, which is absolutely fantastic. So I do think we do really need to support that form of creativity, because they get such an instant reaction from the audience, and it's such a brilliant feeling to know that people are enjoying your performance, like you were saying about Full House. So 100%, that is something I am massively looking forward to. Well, that is another week rounded up in the arts. Thank you so much for joining us on this Thursday. We will be back again next Thursday to do this all over again, and for much more Pain in the Arts. Have a great week.